You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Davenport Auto Park, the ride of your life. And also sponsored by Flores Glass, serving the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
Well, good evening, friends, and welcome to an earlier edition of Wayback Wednesday. I'm Randy Adcock. So glad you could be with us tonight. If you're just tuning in by accident, we are starting early tonight. 7:30 to 8:30 is a new time slot. So if anyone you know that may not be aware of the new time slot, give them a call, give them a text, whatever. Let them know we're on now. We're live. Today is Wednesday, April the 3rd, 2024, and we'll be here till 8:30. So anyway, I'm going to start tonight's show. I'll give you a little story, a true story that was a part of my childhood. And it reminded me, I got reminded of this story earlier this week when I was able to acquire, there's a really neat collection of family history. I don't know who compiled this information, but I first heard about it a couple of weeks ago. But the Z.B. Bullock family, we've talked a couple of weeks ago about Mr. Z.B. Bullock and his contributions, many contributions to Rocky Mount. But there's a really neat book, and this thing has got to be 3 or 4 inches thick, 3-ring binder. It's been compiled over the years. It's got a lot of neat history in it, all about the Bullock family going back to literally the 1700s. And it's just it's chock-a-block full. I've been going through it page by page, making notes and so forth. And so while I was going through that, I had a kind of a flashback, if you will, to a little yard work incident that happened when I was a child. I'll kind of share with you how it all ties together. But the story starts off, we moved, my parents and our family moved over to Inglewood when I was in the 3rd grade, 1967 I think it was. Anyway, there were 2 kids across the street from us, the Bishop family, Kurt and Garrett Bishop, where Garrett was a year older than I was, Kurt was a year younger than I was. They had an older sister, Lynette. And Mr. and Ms. Bishop were both teachers. Miss Bishop taught kindergarten. Mr. Bishop was actually a math professor out here at Wesleyan College. So anyway, because of our close ages, Kurt and Garrett and myself quickly became friends. We palled around a bunch, got into all kind of mischief as kids will do. But one day we were riding down the street on our bicycles, and one of our neighbors called us over to her yard. She was out in the backyard. And she said, "Look, my yard needs cleaning up." She said, "I'll pay you guys 50 cents an hour if you'll come clean my yard up." Well, we looked at each other and said, okay, we were thinking it was going to be a pretty good sized job, but it was 3 of us. And so we agreed to do it the following day. So the next day we got up, got to her yard early that morning and got started. And her yard wasn't huge, but it was bigger than either one of our yards. And certainly there was a lot of work that had to be done. She was already, oh golly, had to be in her 70s, if not 80s by this time. And so the 3 of us, we raked leaves, we pruned bushes, we literally worked all day long in this lady's yard. And when we got through, and let me back up a minute, while we were working, and we realized it was taking longer than any of us anticipated, it was just so much work to do. And we began to joke amongst ourselves about, this poor old lady's going to owe us a bunch of money. I mean, all the work we're doing here and all this time it's taken, she's going to owe us a bunch of money. And so when we got through later that afternoon, we tallied up, we had worked 7 hours. And so at 50 cents an hour, we were each looking for $3.50. So when she came out to pay us, she said, "Okay, I'm going to pay you now." And she broke out a checkbook. And I thought, well, I really didn't want a check, but wouldn't get a check cash. So she said, "Who should I make the check out to?" And I thought she was going to make out one check for the total amount that she owed all 3 of us, and that would have been fine. I said, well, if you're going to do that, make it out to me, and I'll get the check cashed, and I'll split up with the other 2. So she made the check, and she made it out for $3.50. And I looked at her and I said, "Ma'am," I said, "are you sure this is right?" I said, we worked 7 hours at 50 cents an hour. And she said, "That's right, that's $3.50. And I said, "Well, we're supposed to split this 3 ways?" She said, "That's what I told you. I'd pay y'all 50 cents an hour to clean my yard." And so we looked at each other and neither one of us felt like engaging in an argument with the lady. So we took the check or I took the check and we left, somewhat disappointed, obviously. So to make matters worse, I went to get the check cashed and went down to Bobby Mears' store down the street from us and handed the check to Bobby. I said, Bobby, can you cash this for me? And he looked at it and handed it back. I said, son, I don't want that check. And to this day, I honestly don't know whether Bobby thought I wrote the check myself or whether I had somehow coerced her into writing me a check. But he was adamant he was not going to cash that check. And so I said, Bobby, I said, I didn't write the check. You know, she's an old lady. Her hand shakes when she writes. And it looked like somebody had written the check with the hand shaking badly. I said, I didn't write the check. But he was adamant. No, sir, I don't want that check. I don't want that check. So I took the check back to the lady. And I said, I tried to cash a check and Bobby wouldn't cash it. She said, well, that's okay. She said, I'll give you cash. So anyway, she ended up paying me cash, and I went and split the $3.50 with Kurt and Garrett, and all three of us, each one of us, made $1 and some change for an all day long work in her yard that Saturday. So anyway, the moral of that story is be sure of your wages before you start the job. That was what we all learned that day. But that sweet little old lady was named Catherine Bullock, and I didn't never know her first name until literally yesterday. And so what made me think about her was when I was browsing through this book of the Z.B. Bullock family, her name flashed in my mind. I thought, I wonder if she was kin to Z.B. Bullock. So I had no idea what her first name was, anything about her. I didn't even know what the address was. That house on the corner was on the corner, by the way, of Crescent Drive and Sunset Avenue. Kind of almost directly across the street from the Taco Bell now beside McDonald's there on Sunset, if you know the area I'm talking about. So I went looking, and lo and behold, in the 1963 Rocky Mount City Directory, I found a listing for Catherine Bullock on 2701 Sunset Avenue. That was the address, 2701 Sunset Avenue. So that led me on a journey. I wanted to find out as much as I could about Miss Bullock and try to make a connection between her and the Z.B. Bullock family. Well, the first stumbling block I came across was the fact that she spelled her last name B-U-L-L-O-C-K, and of course the Z.B. Bullock family spells theirs B-U-L-L-U-C-K. So I thought, well, they could still be related, could have been a misprint in the city directory. I'll dig further. So during my digging, I uncovered a couple things on kind of what I call a rabbit trail. You go down one path and all of a sudden you get veered off to another little path, and you go down it a while and you come back, go down another path. And that's kind of what tonight's show was. It was a matter of me going down rabbit hole after rabbit hole trying to tie this family together, and never did, by the way. But there were some great memories from me as I was going through this little journey, and so we'll share those with you tonight. So Lee, without any further ado, let's jump into picture number one. This is actually just a screenshot of the 1963 Rocky Mount City Directory. And I call your attention to the very top of the page there. 2701 Catherine T. Bullock. And I later found out the lady's middle name, her maiden name was Thomas. So it's Catherine Thomas Bullock was the lady's name. And you see there her address was 2701 at Sunset Avenue. I actually cut off the top of the page, but where it says Crescent Drive ends there, that's where Crescent Drive is only one block along the street anyway. It runs between Circle Drive and Sunset Avenue. But right there at the intersection of Crescent Drive and Sunset, as I said, across the street from the Taco Bell today. There's a parking lot there today, by the way, where her house used to be. But that's where Catherine Bullock lived. If you look on down the list, right beside her at 2705 was the Sledge family. I remember them as well. In fact, Randy Sledge was big time into race cars. He had a hot rod Chevy Nova that he would spend hours and hours in the garage revving the motor up. I don't know whatever happened to him. I lost track over the years, but he was a neighbor of hers. If you scroll on down the street there, 2800 block, Moore's Workshop Upholstery Shop. I honestly don't ever remember there being an upholstery shop in that part of Sunset Avenue, but at 2800 Sunset Avenue, there was indeed an upholstery shop. Scroll down a little bit further, 2801 was the address of Brantley Apartments. And Brantley Apartments, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 apartments in there. By the way, this was all on my paper route when I was a young fellow delivering papers, and so I delivered papers to all these addresses, at least those that took the Rocky Mount Telegram. But anyway, a couple of names jumped out at me. Number one, in apartment A1, Mr. Gordon Waters, I knew him, and honestly, I had no idea he ever lived in those apartments. And then apartment number A3, Frederick Turnage. At this point, he would be a future mayor of Rocky Mount, and I never knew he lived in those apartments, but he did, in fact, at A3 Brantley Apartments. Going on down the street, of course, near the end of the page at number 2900 Sunset Avenue was the Z.B. Bullock residence. So anyway, let me back up a bit. 2804, you see there Mr. Elmer Howell, and Mr. Elmer Howell had two companies, Howell Sales Company Novelties, and one you may remember, Sunset Nursery. And I had forgotten about that, but Sunset Nursery was there too. So keeping all this in mind, we're going to kind of address some of these addresses and what was there then and what's there now. Moving along, Lee, number 2, if you would. This is actually the area over there on the left-hand side of your screen, kind of circled in the yellow there, that yellow box. That is 2701 Sunset Avenue. Like I say, it's a vacant lot there now. But in 1963, when the city directory came out, that's where Miss Bullock was living, and she passed away in 1983, if I'm not mistaken. I've got her obituary here we'll get to shortly. But I was overseas in the military when she passed away, so when I came back, she, of course, was deceased. But she had a son. Her son was named Thomas. I remember him vaguely. He lived there in his mother's house after she passed away for some period of time, and then he later passed away too. But anyway, I didn't know if any of the viewers remember Miss Bullock. Like I said, I didn't really know anything about her other than the fact that she lived on the corner there. She lived by herself until her son came to live with her when she got on up in age. And had a little small white house there and had a little fence around it. And it's not a big lot at all by any, like I said, it's not a huge lot to have to clean, especially with 3 young fellows working feverishly to get it clean, but we sure thought it was worth more than 50 cents an hour collectively. Okay, let's move on then, Lee. I found in this Rocky Mount Telegram, April the 6th of 1939, I found this listing, and I never knew this about Miss Bullock, but as it turns out, her husband passed away in 1939. And I could not find an obituary. I searched the newspapers, not newspapers, but the Find a Grave website. Could not find any reference for her obituary. Well, I'm sorry, his obituary, but I did find hers. And actually, I just got a text from Randy Harrell. He reminded me it was Randy Dawes that had the Chevy Nova. And I think he's right. Miss Sledge was his grandmother. He lived there with his grandmother. But anyway, thank you, Randy, for reminding me. I had forgotten that too. But so in 1939, her husband passed away, and his name was Benjamin Franklin Bullock. And I didn't know that, so I was able to kind of piece together some information I found about her. And their son, you see. Oh, we got a call. Hello, caller. You on the air?
Hello, Randy. I knew Tom Bullock.
Did you really? Okay.
He was a member of the church, Inglewood Methodist Church, Inglewood United Methodist.
Right.
And later in years, he did a lot of little wood carving type things and gave away things he made out of wood. Nice fellow.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
I wasn't aware. He claimed that the site where our church is located had been a pond there when he was young. So, didn't know if you were aware of that.
I was not. You mean where the Inglewood United Methodist Church, there was a pond there?
Yeah, that was his claim.
Wow, I never knew that. I'll have to research that. That's news to me.
Good show tonight.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Wow, that's a news flash to me. I'm making a quick note here on my page at Inglewood United Methodist Church. Okay, my pen just ran out of ink, so I got that note made. Okay, so anyway, Miss Bullock's husband passed away 1939. Apparently she never remarried. I saw references to her being that's all right, I'm good. Lee was going to bring me a pen, but I'm okay. Thank you, Lee. I never saw any reference to her remarried. I know, like I said, when the last time I remember seeing her before I went in the military, she was still, I think her son might have moved in with her then, in fact. She had gotten up in age. She was 93 when she passed away. But anyway, so let's move on. Let's go back, Lee, number 4, if you would. This is just another Rocky Mount City Directory screenshot that I did earlier this afternoon. It's from the 1958 Rocky Mount City Directory. And a couple of interesting things I've got highlighted here in yellow on your screen. Number one, you see Lakeside Baptist Church. You see the address listed there as 105 West Haven Boulevard. Okay? And then just below that, you see Lakeview Apartments, Miss Catherine Bullock at 1513 Sunset Avenue. So this is obviously before she moved into the house over on Sunset Avenue, at least 28 or 2701 Sunset Avenue. But I went to look and I said, okay, what's at 1513 Sunset Avenue? Because I never remembered a Lakeview Apartments. And so when I went and did a Google search for that address, 1513 Sunset Avenue, lo and behold, that is the address for Lakeside Baptist Church. At least that area of Sunset Avenue is where Lakeside Baptist Church is. So I thought, well, that's odd, because the very listing above the Lakeview Apartments says Lakeside Baptist Church at 105 West Haven Boulevard. Well, what I later found out was that in 1955, when the Lakeside Baptist Church was being formulated, they actually bought the property where the old Glenwood Hall was. And we've talked about the Glenwood Hall many times in the past. They had a kindergarten there, little school-age kids, and it was right across the street from the City Lake. Let's go on to number 5 if we could. This is just another look at another section within the 1958 City Directory. And you see there near the top, the bullet category there, and you see it's B-U-L-L-O-C-K. And then you see Catherine T. was the widow of Benjamin, and she lived at Lakeview Apartments, again, 1513 Sunset Avenue in Apartment 1. So, as I said, what I found was that Lakeside Baptist Church, in its very early forming years, a group of folks got together. They were actually kind of an offshoot, if you will, from First Baptist Church. First Baptist Church actually was responsible for starting at least 3 churches in Rocky Mount over the years, and Lakeside was one of them. So this group from previously from First Baptist Church started meeting together over on they purchased the old Glenwood Hall building, and that became Lakeside Baptist Church. As I said a minute ago, let's go ahead and go to number 6, Lee. This is the obituary I found from Miss Catherine Bullock. This appeared in Rocky Mount Telegram, July the 7th, 1983, and you see there she was 93 when she died. And she had one surviving son, Thomas F. Bullock of the home, and she had a brother. I never knew her brother either, nor a sister. Her sister lived in Richmond, Virginia at this time. This was, again, 1983. So anyway, that kind of finding out that she used to live there in Lakeside Apartments, and that Lakeside Apartments was in the location where present-day Lakeside Baptist Church is, that got me wheels turning about that. I wanted to find out more about that. I wanted to find out when Lakeview Apartments were there, when they went away, when Lakeside Baptist Church built that building there. And so I headed down that rabbit hole. And as I said, sometimes you go down these rabbit holes and you can get lost very quickly. And at the same time, I wanted to know more about the businesses that were occupying those 3 or 4, half a dozen addresses on Sunset Avenue. So what I would end up doing is going back and forth between Sunset Avenue, where the businesses were, right in that 27 to 2800 block of Sunset, and then going back over to the 1500 block of Sunset Avenue, where the Lakeside Baptist Church would eventually be. And I just realized it's time for our first commercial break. So Lee, bring it back to me. We're going to grab our first commercial break here, and I'm still getting used to this new schedule, so bear with me. But anyway, when we come back from the break, we're going to talk a little bit more about the businesses that were occupying those various addresses on Sunset Avenue, more westerly on the 27 and 2800 block of Sunset. Then we're going to go back and talk a bit more about Lakeside Baptist Church and how all that came together. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Wayback Wednesday.
Center, your one-stop shop for all your gardening and landscaping needs. All you need is your imagination, and Harper's Garden and Stone Center can supply the materials to make the job the success you want it to be. We have flowers, plants, trees, decorative stones, slate or flagstone. Enjoy the nice spring weather with Paulie's Island Furniture and our Wilmington Grills. Also visit Wendy's Hole in the Wall Boutique and shop for the whole family. Shoes, Vera Bradley bags, and Simply Southern apparel. Harper's Garden and Stone Center, located at 2145 Oak Level Road, open Monday through Saturday, rain or shine.
Buying a Toyota should be as fun as driving one. This is Trey Turner from Rocky Mountain Toyota, where we've made the car buying process simple. Get straightforward pricing on all your favorite Toyota models, so you can skip the hassle and the haggle and get back on the road in no time at all. Plus, enjoy the peace of mind that comes with our complimentary lifetime warranty, unlimited time, unlimited miles. Come see me today at Rocky Mountain Toyota or shop online at RockyMountToyota.com.
Mambo Italiano, hey, hey, mambo.
Home time! Isher, we're ready. We're rolling. I mean, we got the new Italianos. Look at the new shoes. The new Italianos is exclusive to PJs, so come and get them before they're all gone. And like you all know, I don't follow the trend. I create the trend, and PJ the trendsetter.
Mambo Italiano, try an angelada with the fishy bacala and then hey, Goomba. I love how you dance the rumba.
And we're back. If you're just tuning in, and hopefully you're here, hopefully you've tuned in and joined us tonight. We started the night show early, 7:30 to 8:30 is our news time slot, and we will be on that slot permanently, I guess. I've not heard any plans of changing that. So going forward, Wayback Wednesday will now come on at 7:30 every Wednesday night. We'll still replay, I think, on Saturday and Sunday afternoons like a regular time slot. I'm not positive on that, but I think that's the understanding I had. So if you happen to miss tonight's show, you can tune in this weekend, or you can always catch us on YouTube. So there you go. All right. I mentioned before the break that I was kind of flip-flopping back and forth between the 27 and 2800 block of Sunset Avenue and the 1500 block of Sunset Avenue, partly because I was tracing Miss Bullock's route back and forth. Not that she went back and forth, but I mean, I'd go back and forth trying to find out when she was at each location. And then also, of course, I was really curious about the time frame for some of the other businesses that were in that area of Sunset Avenue. When we moved there on Crescent Drive in 1967, that whole area from the stoplight down there, what is in front of now CVS Drugstore, from there all the way down to what is now Sal's Pizza, that whole area along there has changed dramatically. I mean, there were several residences along there, and I knew some of the folks who lived there. There was a house, in fact, right there where McDonald's is, that was moved. Ms. Paralee Clay bought the house and had it moved over to Wayne Street. And when I got out of the Navy in 1986, we stayed with my parents for a short period of time, and then we actually moved into a house on Wayne Street that was moved there from Sunset Avenue. And so, but like I said, that 2 or 3 block area along there from the stoplight headed west on Sunset Avenue has gone through some radical changes, for lack of a better term. Been multiple businesses in there, that area come in and gone. I guess McDonald's and Taco Bell have probably been the mainstay over the years. And of course now we've got, what's the drive-through down there? I'm drawing a blank. You know what I'm talking about, right down the road there from Taco Bell, McDonald's. What's it called, Lee? Sonic, there you go, thank you. I couldn't remember the name of Sonic. But yeah, I remember when there was mostly residences along there, and so anyway, it's been interesting to see it change and sad in some ways too. All right, let's jump back into it, Lee. Number 7, this is another shot of Sunset Avenue, the 2800 block of Sunset Avenue, and specifically the 2800 address, 2800 Sunset. There you go, there's Sonic. and you see the volleyball field to the right there. In 1963, this was a location of Moore's Upholstery Shop. Moore's Upholstery occupied this space in 1963. And as much as I do remember about that part of Sunset Avenue, I can't say I have any recollection at all, in fact, of Moore's Upholstery. I just do not remember that at all. My guess is it was probably someone who worked out of their home, maybe had a backyard garage shop, something like that. But I do not remember an upholstery shop in that part of Sunset Avenue. Okay, let's move on to number 8. 2801, right across the street from the Sonic there, was a location for Brantley Apartments. And it's kind of hard to see. It's the area outlined in yellow, and they're still there, by the way. The pine trees there have pretty much covered up the apartments now. But as I said earlier, when I was delivering papers, 11, 12 years old, this was my paper route. I delivered papers all through this area here. And so I got to know a lot of the folks who live in these apartments and these houses on Sunset Avenue and so forth. Some I got to know better than others. Some of them it was just, I was a paper boy. That's all only kind of interaction I had with them. But others I got to know a little better. But anyway, this was 2801 Brantley Apartments. And they're still there, by the way, today. Mixed into trees there. If you ride by, you can still see. They've been there. I'm not sure when they were built, but they were there in 1963, and they're still there today. So, okay, let's move on to number 9 then. 2804 Sunset Avenue, right across the street from this location right here, was where Sunset Nursery was in 1963. And, I have some memories of going there, buying flowers for Mother's Day and so forth. And it was also before they cut Zebulon Road, which runs behind McDonald's and Taco Bell and Sonic and all that. Before they cut that road through there, the Sunset Nursery had some pipes that would go back to the Stony Creek back there. And we used to fish the creek as a child. Me and Kurt and Garrett Bishop spent a lot of time on that creek, and Jim Harrison too. Jim was one of our childhood friends. And so I remember very vividly, there was a water pump, in fact, a gas-powered water pump back there on the creek bank. And every now and again, the man who run the nursery would go back there and fire the pump up, and the pipe would pull water from Stony Creek and go through the woods there, and that's what he used to water the flowers there in the nursery. And so for many years, that was still part of that old piping system in place. I don't think it's there anymore. Most of it got drug out or torn out when they put Zebulon Road through there. But I fished all up and down that part of Stony Creek in both directions, upstream and downstream from there. So I'm very familiar with that area when it was all wooded and just a creek back there. Okay, Lee, let's move on. Number 10, to me, this was a neat topic here because I never remembered seeing the lion that was at Z.B. Bullock's house, but I always heard that story. Even as a small child, I'd heard that there used to be a lion that was in a cage there at Z.B. Bullock's house. Well, when I was looking through the book, this compilation of Bullock history, family history, I came across this article, and it had the date there. And so I just went to the newspapers.com website and punched in the date, and lo and behold, I pulled it up as well. A couple neat things about this, though. It seems that Mr. Bullock's son, Z.B. Jr., had an opportunity to get this lion as a cub. And he thought it was cute, to be a neat pet. So, of course, he talked to his dad and let him get the lion cub. But as lion cubs will do, it became an adult lion. And when it did, it became temperamental. It became somewhat dangerous. And they had to keep it in a cage. And I'm going to read a little bit of this. It's kind of a long article, but it starts out, this is the story of a temperamental lion named Buck who likes raw meat, tolerates spectators, and feels very unkindly towards dog, cats, cigar smoke, and photographers. When Buck, who is incidentally a female, despite her name, was a cub, she made a nice little plaything. But now that she has grown up, keeping her is something of a problem, and her owner, Z.B. Bullock Jr., has found that getting rid of her is even more difficult. For some strange reason, most folks are wary of taking a grown lion as a household pet, even if they could feed her the raw meat, which is her standard diet. Bullock bought Buck some 2 years ago from some transits who had gotten her from a circus which went broke. She was about the size of a dog, but she outgrew her box in a hurry, and now her home is a cage in the backyard of the Bullock home in Englewood, where she paces up and down and roars when it suits her fancy. And you know, Z.B. Bullock was probably one of the very few folks in Rocky Mount who was in a position to be able to accommodate the appetite of a full-grown lioness. Being in the meat business and running a meat butcher shop and so forth, Mrs. E.B. Bullock, you know, was certainly in a good position to be able to feed this big cat what she would need, a daily intake of meat. But so anyway, when the cat got grown and got big and got temperamental and got literally dangerous to contend with, they found they had difficulty getting rid of it. Number 11, Lee, this was a neat picture, and it's a little grainy, a little dark. I apologize, it's not a great quality picture. But I found this. This appeared in the Rocky Mount Telegram. By the way, that article appeared December 4th, 1946. 1946 was when the lion was there. And this picture accompanied that article. And it's a picture of Buck, the female lioness. I don't think they knew it was a female when they got it. And that's kind of hard for me to understand how you not know, but maybe it was too small to get a real good understanding about those kind of things. But anyway, it was a female. And this is her, and you see she had her, in the left-hand picture, she's kind of sulking, it looks like, they're looking through the bars, and in the right-hand picture, she's got her paw to the fence. And the story goes that if you got too close to her, or tease her and were too close, she'd stick that paw to there and rake her claws across you and give you a pretty nasty wound. So, Buck was not too much to be toyed with as an adult lion, and that's understandable. I've always wondered whether it was a mountain lion, which, you know, at one time, pumas, what we call mountain lions in other parts of the country, were native to this part of the country. They run wild. And so it's possible that it came from another part of the country. It did not come from here. They said they got it from a circus that went broke, and we don't know where the circus got the lion from. But in any case, it's just an interesting story there that I'd heard all my life and just didn't realize the details until I stumbled across this article. Okay, Lee, let's jump back. Number 12. As I mentioned, I was going back and forth between Sunset Avenue and the two addresses, the two sections of the avenue. And so I stumbled across this article that appeared in the Rocky Mount Telegram, May 15th, 1955, and it says, Open House for Lakeside Group. Open house will be held Sunday afternoon by the newly organized Lakeside Baptist Group, and all members and friends of the group were urged today to inspect the premises located near the city lake. The new church group has purchased the site and building now occupied by the Glenwood Hall School. The open house will be held from 3 to 4:30 Sunday afternoon, and registration of all persons interested in the work of the group will be held. No Sunday services nor Sunday school will be held by the group this Sunday, but the following week, April 24th, both worship services and Sunday school will convene. So as I said, they purchased the old Glenwood Hall facility and started Lakeside Baptist Church, a few members from the older First Baptist Church, and purchased this property and began having church there. Number 13, Lee. This is a picture of Glenwood Hall after it became Lakeside Baptist Church. This picture was taken April 22nd, 1955. The caption reads, the first church services of Lakeside Baptist Group will be held Sunday morning in Glenwood Hall, pictured here. The group has purchased this site and will assume full possession of the building and grounds in June. Both Sunday school and church services will be held this Sunday. So there you go. I never knew that Glenwood Hall was also the original location of Lakeside Baptist Church. And, it's neat that they were able to do that. They were able to take that building and do something with it. But of course, that was the beginning. And they needed somewhere bigger. They needed more room. And apparently there were some pretty well-heeled members of Lakeside Baptist Church in 1955. And so they began raising funds to build another church almost immediately. Membership grew, and as you might imagine, as membership grew, they became a larger church. Parking became an issue, so much so that the city council, which at that time was the Board of Aldermen, they didn't call it city council in the 1950s, they referred to it as a city alderman. But the city alderman had to get involved, and literally help Lakeside Baptist Church create parking area. Number 14, if you would, Lee. This article appeared February the 2nd, 1956, and you see the headline reads, "Parking Area Decreed at City Lake Park Site." The park by the City Lake will soon have a parking area. This was the action taken by the Rocky Mount Board of Aldermen at their meeting on Thursday night. The area will be located along the north side of West Haven Boulevard between Sunset Avenue and the Atlantic Coastline Railroad. Now, the reason they did this was because there was really people who were going to park at the church were spilling over into the area across the street. People wanting to go to the lake were running out of space there. So what they did was they said, it goes on to say, it was also brought out that the new Lakeside Baptist Church is located just across the street from the park, and that a hazardous situation was presented on Sunday when as many as 100 cars tried to park around the church building. So, like I said, folks who were going to the lake would try to park in the church parking lot, and folks who were trying to go to church would park over in the lake. So they built a separate parking lot, and that's how that parking lot over there on the City Lake part side of the road came into existence. It was because the traffic had increased so much from Lakeside Baptist Church that they really needed more parking at both locations. But the city took over the part of creating more parking at the lake, and of course the church would have new parking when they got into their new building. They were in the process of raising funds to build. Okay, so let's move on to number 15. April 14, 1956, this little blip occurred in the Rocky Mount Telegram, and it says Lakeside Baptist Church, 105 West Haven Boulevard. That was the address of Lakeside Baptist Church, the old location of the Glenwood Hall. Reverend Clarence Godwin was the pastor. And I read something interesting too, and I'm not sure how old that article I read was. I actually went online, and Lakeside Baptist Church has a website. And if I remember correctly, since that church came into existence in 1955, they've only had, I think it's 3 pastors. And this was obviously the first. Mr. Clarence Godwin was the first pastor. Lehman, Dr. Lehman was a pastor for many, many years, and I'm not sure who the pastor is now. But that's remarkable for a church that's been in existence almost 70 years now. And they've only had 3 pastors, so remarkable longevity there for pastors at that location. Okay, Lee, let's move on then. Lakeside Baptist Church was involved, obviously, with a lot of different things around the city in the early or mid-1950s, early 1960s, I should say. In 1959, this picture appeared as part of a 2-part little deal, and this was picture 1. And what this was a group of men who were involved with the civilian defense here in Rocky Mount. I'm going to read the caption to you first, and I'll show you the second picture. But the captions, and this was, of the 2 pictures, this would have been the top one. And so it says, top photo, Civilian Defense Director Turner Battle radios instructions to one of the participants in Friday night's emergency at Eastonburg. As looking on are from left to right Wiley Mears, Edgecombe County Commissioner, W.E. King, Rocky Mount Alderman, and Henry Milgram, Nats County Commissioner and Fire Commissioner. Okay, Lee, now go to the next one, number 18, and this is where it picks up the bottom picture. The bottom photo, listening to radiological monitor John Russ report on the radiation count are from left to right Miss Andy Gaynor, Red Cross nurse, Rocky Mount Police Chief J.I. Nichols, Mel Warner, Communications Head, and Lee Watson, Commander, Rocky Mount Missouri Police. It does not say in this thing here, the article that accompanied this actually made mention that Lakeside Baptist Church was very much involved in this. This was a drill, if you will. They simulated emergency as if a bombing had took place, of all places, at Little Eastonburg. Well, it didn't say Little, it said at Eastonburg. So, but in any case, Lakeside Baptist Church participated in that. And so one of these pictures, I'm not sure which is which, it may be that bottom one, or this one here you're looking at now on your screen, but one of them was taken there at Lakeside Baptist Church. Okay, Lee, I think it's time for our next commercial break, so bring it back to me. When we come back from the break, we're going to show you a few more pictures of the Lakeside evolution, if you will, and talk a little bit more about some old pictures around Rocky Mount. And so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Wayback Wednesday.
Hey, mambo, Mambo Italiano, hey, mambo.
Prom time! Teacher, we're ready. We're rolling. I mean, we got the new Italianos. Look at the new shoes. The new Italianos is exclusive to PJs, so come and get them before they're all gone. And like you all know, I don't follow the trend. I create the trend. I'm PJ the trendsetter.
Mambo Italiano, try an angelada with the fishy bacala and then hey, Goomba. I love how you dance the rumba.
Large hospital, but a culture where you're more than just a number? At UNC Health Nash, you can get both. Take advantage of great benefits, including signing bonuses up to $25,000, student loan forgiveness, and much more. Plus, gain valuable frontline experience in an organization that prioritizes nurses' feedback. Apply today at nashnursing.com and discover how you can get big city benefits at this small town hospital.
We're in our 18th year of practice at the Hammer Chiropractic Center, and we've seen over 15,000 different people in the Rocky Mount area. 40% of headaches actually come from a neck problem. Many patients come in taking multiple aspirin, over-the-counter medications and such a day, and we can get you to stop doing that and actually fix the problem so the headaches don't rise anymore. A lot of people think chiropractic hurts. It does not. Most of the people come in and they feel great when they leave.
Okay, we're back. So, Lakeside Baptist Church started in 1955 by a group from First Baptist Church and started out in the old Glenwood Hall preschool, I guess you'd call it, at the time in the 1940s. So anyway, by 1955, Lakeside, this new group of Lakeside church members had purchased the Glenwood Hall facility and began holding services there. And immediately began raising money to build a church. We got a call. Let's get the call. Hello, caller, you on the air?
All right. The Glenwood Hall place was where I went to the first grade in the school year of 50 and 51. My parents sent me to that place the way my birthday landed. They did not want me to be 6.5 years old when I started the first grade. And I didn't go to any kindergarten. I went to the first grade out there at Glenwood Hall. It was operated by a woman named Mrs. Skills. And when you were an enrolled student at that place, a Bluebird taxi cab would pick you up at your home and carry you to Glenwood Hall. And when the school day was over, a Bluebird taxi would pick you up at Glenwood Hall and carry you back to where you lived at. I went 1 year there, and I graduated from the first grade at Glenwood Hall in the end of the school year in the spring of 1951.
How many grades were there when you were there? Was it just first grade?
Didn't hit anything there but a kindergarten and a first grade.
Okay.
And the kindergarten circumstance was way before there was ever any requirement of students being enrolled in a kindergarten. It was just an optional event. Mm-hmm. I was not involved in that. It was before my first grade placement.
Gotcha. Were you aware that it was later the beginnings of Lakeside Baptist Church held in that location?
Yeah, I've lived here all my life, and I remember that place, Glenwood Hall. It later transitioned into what was to be known as Lakeside Baptist Church.
Right.
In 1950, it was a private school. I don't know who. I guess that lady built the building. I don't really know. Mm-hmm. I was 5. I was 5.5 years old.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, buddy. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Okay. All right. So, like I said, 1955, a church gets started. They began raising money immediately. And in 5 short years later, they began breaking ground on a brand new facility. And this is what's remarkable. In 5 years' time, they had raised enough money to pay for the land, the building, construction, everything in full. That's remarkable accomplishment in 5 short years. In fact, Lee, if you would, put up number 18 on the screen for our viewers. I found this picture, the Rocky Mount Telegram, dated August the 16th of 1960. And the caption reads, "Lakeside groundbreaking. This was the scene as ground was broken for the new sanctuary and other buildings planned for Lakeside Baptist Church. In the picture are members of the building committee, with 3 of them holding a drawing of the new building, the pastor and the chairman of the board of deacons." And it mentions all the principals there, the deacon and the pastor and so forth. But this is in 1960, let's say 5 short years after the church was started. They had raised enough money literally to pay for the land and the building to build the new church. Okay, Lee, let's move on then. Number 19. This article appeared August 31st, 1961. Lakeside Baptist Plan dedication this Sunday. Almost a year to the day from groundbreaking. They broke ground on August 16th of 1960. August 31st of 1961, they had the dedication. Dedication services for the new Lakeside Baptist Church had been planned for Sunday. The pastor, Clarence E. Godwin, of course. The beautiful new church facing Sunset Avenue with its lofty spire and huge white marble frame window has just been completed after a year in the building. Okay, and it goes on to tell about the history and so forth. The new Lakeside Sanctuary will seat more than 500 people. Was started on August 15, 1960, and was built at a cost of approximately $200,000. So that's a pretty incredible feat there, to not only raise the money to pay for it, but to build it in a year. And it's a beautiful church, obviously. Number 20, Lee, this picture appeared October 22nd, 1961, and that was the open house. The church, of course, had been open and operating by this time. But this was a picture that appeared in the Rocky Mount Telegram in October of 1961. Lakeside Baptist Church today, number 21, Lee, and it's a beautiful church too. I've not been into church sanctuary. I had the occasion to go into one of the classrooms many years ago. God, it's probably been 35, 40 years ago now, and I forgot why I was there. I was there helping somebody do something. We had to go into church to pick up something or drop something off. I forget. But it's a beautiful church, obviously. And this is the front of it. And number 22, Lee, this is a picture of the choir. And this is not a modern, not a recent picture, I should say. But I don't think it's very old. I think it was taken within the last 5 or 6 years. I got it from their website. But anyway, that's just a fantastically awesome sanctuary. The pipe organ in the back there and the choir loft, it just really reminds me of something you see on television, frankly. It's a really, really beautiful church. Okay. In 1994, we're going to get away from Sunset Avenue for a bit here and talk about, I stumbled across what was referred to by the Rocky Mount Telegram as an historical scrapbook that the Telegram put out in 1994. And some of these pictures we're going to show you, we've seen before, but it was a collection of pictures that they put together, and it was really neat. As I was browsing through these online, it was one section of the newspaper, and there must have been, I don't know, probably a dozen or more pictures. I just picked kind of the best, what I thought were the best anyway, of the ones that were listed there. So let's move on, Lee. Number 23. This was the National Bank of Rocky Mount, located on Main Street in its glory days, circa 1915. Okay. Now, we said before, the National Bank later became People's Bank. It's a little confusing because this was National Bank, one block east of here at the intersection of Sunset Avenue and Washington Street. There at 5 Points was the First National Bank of Rocky Mount. That's what it was called, First National Bank of Rocky Mount. This bank, of course, in 1915 was called the National Bank of Rocky Mount, and in later years became People's Bank. And you'll notice in this picture, the famous or infamous, as the case may be, clock on the corner is not there yet. It did not appear until sometime, I think, in the 1930s. But this picture taken somewhere in 1915, and well, somewhere around 1915 it says. And just a neat old picture of the old bank building there. Okay, Lee, number 24. This picture actually we've shown before in a previous show. We did a segment one night here a year or so ago on MH Prison Tire and Auto Center. And this is, it says Foster M. Pridgeon Sr. City Horseshoeing Company went from shoeing horses and mules to shoeing cars and trucks in 1933. And this is a picture inside the original facility where they originally shoed horses. Okay. All right, let's move on. Number 25, Lee. Neat picture here. This is 4 gentlemen who are receiving awards for longevity as employees of the Atlantic Coastline Railroad. Left to right, J.J. Fountain retired in 1954 as a ticket agent after 50 years working with the railroad. L.K. Fountain retired baggage master and in the ticket office for 50 years. Mr. Hyman Battle is penning the L.K. Fountain pen. And then W.H. Fountain retired in 1952 as an engineer, and I misspoke. Obviously, the gentleman to the third from the left is Hyman Battle. He was not employed at the mill. He was the one penning the metals on the other 3 employees. Okay. Neat thing about this is this family is direct descendants of Mr. S.K. Fountain, who had the first telegraph in Rocky Mount. He was an inventor. Extraordinary man. We've talked a little bit about him in past shows. But anyway, these all 3 were descendants of Mr. S.K. Fountain. But it's remarkable to have 3 individuals, I think they were brothers, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, all 3 of them had in excess of 50 years working for the Atlantic Coastline Railroad. How rare is that to have that kind of work longevity with one firm anyway? Okay, Lee, number 26. Neat old picture here. This is from 1960. This is inside of Thompson Pharmacy. It's been many years since I was in there. In fact, I was a child the last time I went in Thompson Pharmacy, and I think that was probably had been taken to the doctor and been prescribed medicine and stopped by there on the way home to get the prescription filled. That's how long ago that's been. But anyway, it's a neat old picture, and it's a shame that pharmacy couldn't make it. But of course, when Parkview Hospital closed, that kind of was a nail in the coffin for Thompson Pharmacy. Excuse me. Okay, Lee, number 27. This picture from the 1940s is Belt Tylers before they remodeled. It's hard to imagine this is what Belt Tylers looked like in the 1940s. When you ride by there today and see the building, it's quite a bit different than this picture here. But that's what it was in the 1940s. Okay, Lee, number 28. Main Street, 1940s. Another neat old picture here. You see Taylor's department store there, kind of in the center of the screen there. I'm not sure exactly where this is on Main Street. I should have looked up the address, but I think, don't quote me, but I think this is on I'm going to take a 50-50 shot guess here. I think this might have been on the east side of Main Street, so maybe somebody remembers. I really don't. Before my time, obviously, but in any case, Taylor's department store. Okay, let's move on then, number 29. This picture here is a little grainy, a little hard to make out anything. And it's a furniture store. I can make out the word furniture. Beyond that, I'm at a loss. But this is a very, very early picture. I'm guessing in 1910s. Looks like Main Street is still dirt, in fact. So, and I'm not sure when they paved Main Street. It was somewhere in the 1915, 1920 time frame, I think. But in any case, at this point, it looks to be still dirt. So, very early picture of Main Street, Rocky Mount. It's, in fact, the bottom right-hand corner says photo contributed by G.S. Tucker circa 1880, so it's older than I thought it was. All right, let's move on, Lee. Number 30, Tarrytown Mall. Tarrytown tradition continues. You know, I really feel sorry for anyone who is not from here and never had the opportunity to experience the Tarrytown Mall experience. When I was a child, it was a magical place to go, particularly at Christmas time. There was neat things going on all year round at Tarrytown Mall, but especially at Christmas time. The local churches would provide choirs, would go out and sing. Youth groups would go out and sing. There'd be all kind of pageants and so forth throughout the year. Just numerous events, from boat shows to just sporting events, concerts in the parking lot. I mean, it was just a really, really neat place. It's such a shame that Hurricane Floyd in 1999 literally destroyed Tarrytown to the extent it could not be brought back. And that's a loss that Rocky Mount has still not got over, sadly. Anyway, okay, Lee, let's move on then. Number 31. This is not from the 1994 collection. But I stumbled across this and it caught my eye for two reasons. Number one, this is the bridge, 64 bypass bridge over Tar River going to Tarboro. And it was taken by a photographer named Jim Nichols. So this was a new photographer name that I had not run across before. But Jim Nichols took this photograph and he did quite a few others. I'm going to look, see if I can find some more. Number 32, Lee. And I hope Harold Winsett is watching. Harold, I thought about you as soon as I saw this picture. October 25th, 1967, the J.C. Ett project chairman and Winsett Center gives instructions to Sylvia Lancaster and Dottie Winsett. Dottie, of course, was married to Harold. She passed away a few years ago. One of the sweetest ladies I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. She is missed sorely by anyone who ever knew Dottie, and I know Harold misses her greatly too. Got time for one more we'll call tonight. Number 33, Lee. October 1967, this picture appeared, and it says, Mr. M.L. Bine Center instructor for the Rocky Mount J.C. shooting and safety program is shown here going over the correct safety procedures with John Richardson and Thomas Warwick. The second class will be held Saturday at 9:45 in the YMCA here. The program will continue for 3 more consecutive Saturdays. The last class will be held November 4th. Can you imagine today kids being trained in safety of shotguns? Today we got to have safe spaces for kids so they won't be triggered, and we can't have guns anywhere around because somebody might accidentally shoot themselves or somebody else. It was a different time, folks, many years ago. That's going to do it for us tonight. We've run slam out of time. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Thank those who called in and shared your memories with us. Always good to hear from you. Have a great week. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to one another, and we'll see you next week with more Wayback Wednesday. Good night.